Okay, on this episode, we're going to look at two scenes from The Expanse that use a blocking technique that I don't recommend. Now, the director gets away with it at least 2 out of 3 times, but I think you'd learn the wrong lesson if you tried to copy it. This is Hot Moves. Okay, so quite often when I'm blocking a scene with other people, somebody gets the idea to track across the line at some point. So here we're in dialogue, 2 over the shoulders, 2 close-ups, and then the idea is that one of those cameras just tracks across the line, so the dialogue continues on the other side. But huge problem, well actually 2 huge problems. First, it's double the coverage. We now need 8 camera setups and 4 lighting setups instead of just 4 and 2. And secondly, we now have a dolly move that we must have happen in a specific part of the scene. And in the edit, we absolutely have to use it in that exact place. Basically, no matter how wrong the timing is, because it's our ticket to the other side of the line. So this director on The Expanse does this in 2 scenes in one episode, and in the first one, he gets into trouble. So just to give you a sense of the scene, there's going to be dialogue at the bar here. So it's going to go back and forth in a couple of matching shots. And then at some point, there's literally a track to the other side of the line. It's coming up right here.
I guess it makes it worthwhile in the end. But it does make you wonder.
And then the dialogue continues from here in a whole new bank of cameras. So 2 over the shoulders, 2 new close-ups on the other side. So nobody can really afford to shoot like this because it's not just about shooting more cameras. It's also new lighting setups. Like we now need 4 lighting setups instead of 2. And we have to exhaust the actors twice as much because we need good takes from 8 different camera positions now instead of just 4. And you're stuck with the timing. If the woman had a fantastic reaction here, you just can't cut to it. And that problem is actually bigger because people might have their best takes on the wrong side of the line from where you thought you were going to be. So look at how the editor here has to bite the bullet and jump across the line to get the reaction that he needs.
Research is
Yeah,
deductible.
that sounds great.
We'll have a bottle of the Benassi Cabernet, the reserve, please. Thank you. So, Alex Kamal.
So here he's kind of getting away with it because the geography is pretty settled, and also he's only doing it once. I mean, imagine if you were cutting back and forth between each of her shoulders. The viewer would be completely dizzy. But the point is that you don't really want your best acting performances stuck in a camera that you can't easily cut to. So I think this is a bad strategy overall. You're much better off staying on one side of the line and doing it well. Okay, so scene 2. Here the director again has a deliberate track across the line. But this time it's part of some rather good visual storytelling, which makes it totally worth the effort. So this scene is again a bar scene, this time with 3 people. And the first part of the dialogue is just covered from the outside in like these 3 cameras. There's a 3 shot and a 2 shot and a couple of different things. Eventually, we'll track in over the bar to the other side of the line, but you can see that the director's already having the problem from before, that when the man needs to order a drink, he ends up actually having to cut to the other side of the line because that's the only camera that's running. And this is the problem when you split your coverage across the line, is that when later you're going to realize that the take you need is on the other side of the line, and at that point, you really don't have an alternative. You're going to have to put in a line jump, and then basically, based on the line jumping gods, that'll either work or it won't. So that's happening from this camera over here, which is technically running, but we didn't really mean to be cutting to it yet, because it's not until this camera here tracks over to the other side of the line that all the coverage we have on this side of the line starts to make sense and starts to become easy cutting options. And the timing has to be super deliberate. Like you have to literally choose which line of dialogue that it happens on. And you can see that there's actually a compromise also in how they did that. And this is the kind of editing compromise that you get into when you have like really specific camera movements that need to fit. Notice how they're being forced to cut into the camera move. Like normally you'd want to ease into the camera move, but in order for them to get to edit the dialogue and the performances that they want, the compromise is going to have to be that they're going to cut into the camera move, which creates kind of a strange jerk in the scene. Look for it right now.
In us.
Easy.
I mean, it's a small compromise, but why do we have to make compromises? And then we're just going back and forth between these 3 shots here in a couple of different sizes. And there's a quick right angle master for getting the drinks. And actually, this shot here stays active. It's also used at the ending. There's something here that's almost a jump cut, because this right angle master here and the other two 3 shots from the side, they're very similar. So if you look at this here, they don't cut that well together, I don't think.
Comes in.
And it's not like anybody's dying here. These are some small aesthetic compromises. And if it sounds like I'm beating up on the scene, I'm getting ready to compliment the scene a lot, because the rest of the way out, this scene is amazing. Because now comes the whole point of going to the upper side of the line, which is that she says something risky and then turns around. And now this camera here tracks to a right angle master back on the other side. But crucially, this is a late arrival, so we used the whole next dialogue to get there. And this is just perfect keyframe blocking. It's designed as keyframes to and from, but then we just moved the timing where we wanted, and now you have this constant evolution, constant building of tension. That's just amazing. And now we get into some excellent close combat blocking. So first Naomi steps closer to the camera, so you get this very symmetrical shot. And notice how the woman on the left adjusts herself to actually help with the framing, which I have to believe is on purpose because it's almost too perfect. Then they cut back and forth between this shot and the right angle master from before on the other side of the bar, which is an exact mirror. And strangely, this works without getting disoriented. You've seen this shot pairing, this completely symmetrical shot pairing. You've seen it many times. On paper, it shouldn't work. But for whatever reason, it's not disorienting. We know exactly where we are. Then we get into a bunch of excellent deep staging that's very classic Hollywood. So first the woman walks over here, and then she walks over to the other side. And the motivations definitely feel right, like they thought about when to move, which is actually the most important part. And then she stops by Naomi, and then on the other side, always perfect framings. And then here's something really cool, because the man does the exact same thing. So he walks over here, which is an over-the-shoulder on her, and then he steps over here to another deep staging shot, which is now a flipped over the shoulder, so he just repurposed the shot. So this is a tour de force of using deep staging to flip the shot type, and it's really well designed. Because the actors are moving between 2 different kinds of over-the-shoulder shots. So there's this one here, and then she calls to stop him, and he turns here, and it's another over-the-shoulder. So classic Hollywood. And then there's a right angle master here to cover the ending. So I think the line cross made a lot more storytelling sense this time, because it gave us a way to separate her from the others at the right time when she turned back, and then track very slowly back, which made the tension increase as she talked. So I hope you thought that was interesting, and I'll see you in the next video.